talk a little bit about account sharing and how big of a hit is it for the Netflixes and the cable companies?
Password sharing costs the TV business more broadly, billions of dollars, somewhere between $5 billion and $10 billion. If you think about Netflix alone, I think there are estimates out there that suggest at least 10% of their users are using somebody else's passwords. You do the math with the cost of a monthly subscription, the 160 million people who already pay for Netflix, and you're looking at billions of dollars cost to just Netflix alone. And pay TV feels the same, whether it's HBO or other cable networks where you have young people using their parents' subscriptions or using their friends.
Lucas, the challenge here is fixing this in a way that's consumer friendly. So you're not asking customers to enter in their passwords, every day or every week. So, what are the techniques that are available to these companies where they just don't end up kind of harassing people?
A couple of the techniques that they've discussed are doing things like making you change your password pretty regularly to make sure that friends can't just store the password. Like, I'll admit I have a password to somebody else's service that I've had for years and it has just not changed. If they made that person change it regularly, I might not be able to access anymore. They have also talked about using what's called kind of two-factor authentication, where in addition to logging in with your password, you'd then have to get, say, a text message to your phone to log in, which would of course make it so that only the person with the credit card and with that phone number assigned to that account could use it. There's some more extreme measures being discussed, like having to use your fingerprint. I see that as pretty unlikely because that would be really cumbersome for the user. I know Netflix already will, if they see an account that they think is violating or is using too much of a password, they'll kind of send an email saying, is this really your account? Sort of a gentle reminder that maybe you're breaking the rules.
Well, Lucas, I remember a couple of years ago, Reed Hastings at Netflix said that password sharing is basically something they have to live with because there's so much legitimate sharing within families. Has Netflix in particular changed its tune?
I think Netflix has been fairly consistent in that they want to nudge users to not share the password, but they don't want to upset the users. Their interest is primarily in exposing their shows and their service to as many people as possible so that more people will come back and eventually somebody who's sharing will sign on. But Netflix has reached a point in certain markets, especially in a market like the US, where their growth is slowing a little bit, they're kind of saturated, and they can squeeze out a little extra growth if they go after some of those people who are sharing.
Interesting. To what extent is there a risk of pushing customers, maybe students, young people, to file sharing, to illegal methods of accessing some of these shows?
I think it's a big risk in other countries and to some extent in the US. I mean, you have seen piracy of TV shows and movies tend to drop in countries where paid video services like Netflix are really popular. One sort of substitutes for the other because you're getting a really good service with lots of different movies and TV shows for a price that is not extreme, whereas piracy remains really high in certain markets, especially across Asia Pacific and in some parts of Latin America. But if they get too extreme with this, I think you could certainly see it spike, because if there's a new popular show, Game of Thrones has since ended. That was one of the most pirated shows in the world, but there will be more to come, where if people feel like they can't access it without paying, say, for cable, which is prohibitively expensive, they'll be more likely to find an illegal way to watch it.